I played the demo of Until Then a couple of months ago, and I thought it looked amazing. The visual style was gorgeous, and it felt really cool playing through a game that comes from my culture. I'm glad to say that the full game builds upon all of that, but I do have mixed feelings about where the story goes. Until Then tells the story of Mark Borja, a high school student who's doing normal high school stuff. He procrastinates and does homework at the last minute, hangs out with friends, and dwells on his insecurities. One day, things start changing. His classmate Louise mentioned that she had deja vu, and after meeting a certain someone, things start to feel off. People go missing, and he ends up getting unreliable memories, making him question what's real and what isn't. With the help of his friends, Mark sets off to uncover the mystery behind these weird events. Or well, Louise specifically does all of the hard work. Mark doesn't really do anything. I know Until Then makes it seem like the narrative is going to lead to some supernatural revelations, but it never really goes there until much later on, like over 10 hours later. And even then, I didn't think it was a good payoff. The pacing was too inconsistent. Like every time it seemed like they were going to finally delve into the supernatural stuff, it would go back to being a slice of life story. This happened multiple times throughout my 19-hour playthrough of the game, so I got disappointed and frustrated since I really wanted to know what was causing all those weird events to happen. It turns out, the game shined the most when it focused on its characters and their struggles. It was actually a twist for me since I was originally drawn to the whole mystery aspect of Until Then. Like when the game finally switched to it in the last half, it made me wish that it went back to its slice of life sections. It helped that Until Then's world had gorgeous pixel art and 3D environments. The game made use of both zoom-ins and detailed character animations during certain conversations, which made things so much more immersive. And being in places like school and the characters' houses gave this cozy vibe because of the music, lighting, and visuals. It also helped that the game captured a lot of things that are relevant to Filipino culture, from parodies of brands to specific things like how rooms were decorated. I thought that some things like certain jokes were too specific to the Philippines to be understood by others, but I don't think that it takes away from the experience. The game does its best to be accessible to everyone. Going back to the story, I honestly didn't like Mark and a couple of the other characters when I started playing the game, but the writing was so good at making me empathize and relate to them that they started to grow on me. Mark's best friends in particular were my absolute favorite. Hanging out with them made me feel like I was part of their group, and that feeling kept growing as I played more of the game. Until Then is mostly a side-scrolling visual novel, but it helped that there would sometimes be mini-games, from carnival games to something out of Dance Dance Revolution. Not only were they a nice break from the story, but they helped Mark bond with the other characters. They had some technical issues though, like the rhythm game in particular wasn't responsive to button inputs. Thankfully, it was fixed in a recent patch, along with some other bugs. But yeah, I also like that there were sections where you chatted with Mark's friends on his phone too. I think that some of the conversations went on for a little too long, but it was still a nice touch. It's a shame that the game doesn't let you go through Mark's phone to reread messages and open the game's version of Facebook though. And yeah, I mentioned Facebook since this game has an incredibly accurate portrayal of it. I had so much fun just scrolling through it. Even outside of the things that were specific to Filipino culture like the news, I thought that the posts and comments were spot on. It almost felt like I was reading through real social media conversations, especially when people would reply just to argue with each other. And don't get me started on the people who comment just to promote their products. I know I talked about a lot of positive stuff, but my feelings for the game haven't changed. I really wanted to like Until Then, but it dragged on so much, especially with the repetition in the last half. I'd say that it got worse in the last quarter too. Sure, there were more story revelations, but it started going around the bush and going through the same emotional themes that it already explored throughout the game. It started to impact me less and less until I stopped caring. I also thought that the game's inspirations from anime like Your Name and Your Lie in April in its story started to get a bit too apparent that it got distracting. That doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy the earlier parts of the game though. I even got so emotional that I ugly cried. At its best, Until Then shows an excellent tale of friendship, moving on from loss, and the importance of communication. It's a shame that it tried to really overuse those themes by the end of it, but if you want to experience its gorgeous visuals and appreciate the story's slice of life aspects, then you should try it out. The game's out on Steam and the PS5. Let me know what you thought about the video. Like and subscribe if you liked my content, and thank you to my patrons at Patreon for supporting my channel. Hey, I'm back with another video. I'm hoping to see more games like this that are inspired by my culture. I bet a lot of indie devs are inspired by Until Then too, so I'm hopeful for the future. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.